Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, listeners from wherever you are. Welcome to the 23rd edition of the Vaal University of Technology Student Academic Development Support and Work Integrated Learning Show, live here at COMETSA Television Network. This is the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our minds to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principles called the idea. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. That's the idea. This show is a collaboration between the Vaal University of Technology and COMETSA Friends and Supporters Club. We have been running since June 2023, and this is the 23rd edition. That tells you that we have been on journey for a while. We have a cohort of alumni out there that have been part of our show. Today we are talking about engineering from qualification to professionalization to mastery. Sounds mouthful. There are students out there that are definitely interested in knowing what is the journey of engineering, in particular in civil engineering and built environment. And for that, we invited colleagues that are dealing with this area on a regular basis. Of course, I'm not alone as a co-host. Sis Amy, I regard you as the co-host representing the cooperative education at the Vaal University of Technology. We are also joined by Marilis Bia. She's the HOD from the department and the faculty. She will be telling you a little bit about it. And of course, our expert, can I call you expert, Phathi, from SAICE PDP. And as always, I've invited my observer guest.
Marcel, can you still hear me? I don't hear anyone, so I don't know.
We can hear you. You are battling to hear us, but we can hear you. Just drop a note in the chat. Can somebody just drop a note in the chat and ask Amy to communicate with me via the chat? I can see she's struggling there. And then I see Edwin Mavelane trying to join, but Edwin, your device is not connected. If you can hear me, please just connect, check your microphone, and I'll let you in the studio. I was just mentioning that we have our observer guests. Sis, just hold on there. We'll help you come in. I can see you're struggling as of now. She's trying to talk, but we are live now. Yeah, let's just give you a background to this show. As I said, we started in 2023 using the radio broadcast, and later on in 2025, we moved on onto the streaming. And the foundation has been laid. We are really now sitting on the streaming platform. You might be tuning in from YouTube. You might be tuning in from Facebook or LinkedIn. Please feel free to drop some points in the chat. We would like to engage with you. Let me start very slowly. Bali, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I know you're gonna talk right at the end, but I want you to just give us your experience of the last time when you were doing the observer guest role. What did you take away from that show last time?
Good evening, everyone in the studio, and good evening to everyone that is watching. What I took away from the show is the understanding that we need to grow from just teaching about the subject to actually teaching people and making sure that people understand the subject in order to apply it in their lives. So there is always a gap. There is a gap between what we learn from school or adversity to what we learn in the world of work. So we are now bridging the gap between what you learn at varsity and what you get to implement and use in the world of work. That was what I took away from this.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're looking forward to hear from you right at the end. For now, you can chill and listen to our conversations. I've invited Puleng. I'm going to give you a chance just to say a few words, Puleng, but we will obviously also be looking forward to your reflection at the end of the show. So, Edi, are you able to hear us now? I'm trying to unmute you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, lovely. We can hear you very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Puleng, just few words, and then, of course, as I said, we can chill and focus on our conversation. Are you able to say hi to the viewers? Puleng?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Tima, and everyone, to the viewers out there. I'm excited for this session. I can't wait to see what it has got for all of us. And I've been invited here as observer guest. And yeah, I can't wait what is it in store for all of us. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful. Just adjust your microphone a little bit. Yeah, Sis Eni, welcome, and of course, just few words of welcome as the co-host of mine from the university side, but also maybe for those who don't understand the work of the cooperative education, just in few words, what does the cooperative education do, and why is this partnership with the faculties and the industry so important? Sis Eni, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tima. Colleagues, good evening. I'm grateful to see you here this evening. And I'm also grateful to see my colleague who's going to be the one who's taking care of the faculty. Yes, cooperative education is an umbrella term that describes work integrated learning, placement of students regardless of work integrated learning or internship. And then we are more focused on work integrated learning. We do placement of students. We're not only doing placement of students. The biggest thing that we do is to forge relationships with industry so that we can they can partner with the university, not only for work integrated learning per se, but for all the activities that the university want to run, and they need the partners. But we forge the relationships. Once we have a relationship with industry, then we can start doing placement of students or request industry to give bursaries for our students who are in need, and also to place the graduates so that they can be employable, or also to make sure that if they cannot be employable, they can enter in the entrepreneurship program so that they can be self-sufficient for themselves, opening in the companies. I think there's a lot that is happening in cooperative education, and the partnership that we want to forge, or that we are having with, let me not say we want to forge, we do have relationship with engineering, a very good one, of course. And then we just want to drive this issue of student success so that we can see where can we improve, because we are actually working on continuous improvement. Now we do this today, it works for us, but we need to continue. It doesn't work for us, then we continue improving our student success with the faculties, with the relationship with the faculties. It makes us, work together as colleagues. We're not working in isolation. We need to know what is happening in cooperative education. We need to know what is happening in the faculty for the benefit of our student, particularly for work integrated learning student. Let me just stop there, Mr. Tima, because there's a lot.
We'll definitely come back to you a little bit later to assist students that are interested in participating in the WIL program. Marilis, I'm going to give you a chance also to say hi to the viewers. And of course, I'm sure people are interested to know your journey to be where you are today. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what brought you into the engineering profession, and of course, what is your focus as HOD at the moment, acting HOD at the moment in the department, and of course the faculty. Over to you and welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Chimani. Thank you and welcome to all the viewers tonight, all my guests. Yes, for me, I think my journey started, well, as from very, very little. I was always interested in buildings and roads and infrastructure. And physical science was one of my favorite subjects at school. So then later, I first wanted to become an architect, and maybe what do you call it, designer of interior designs. And my dad said, but why don't you want to become a civil engineer? And I was like, okay, let me go and do some investigation. And then I decided, yes, okay, I will do that. So I started at the Vaal University of Technology, doing my national diploma way back in 1999. So then I finished in 2001. And then afterwards, I obtained my BTech in urban engineering. It was also under civil engineering, also at VUT. I started as a junior lecturer in about, I think, 2003. And I spent there a few years. Then I went to industry for about 3 years. And after that, I came back to VUT again as a lecturer, because I enjoyed being an educator and to share my knowledge with students. I've also completed my MSc at WITS, also civil engineering, and I'm going to finish my doctorate also very soon. So my journey was with VUT as an educator, looking at the curriculum, lecturing, looking at the timetable, helping students to register. And I've been acting HOD since January this year. And my task is just to steering the department and assist students wherever possible. So that's basically my journey, very, very short. But civil engineering is a very vibrant type of career, and I would advise anyone to consider it. So yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
Wow. It's amazing how we plan our life and then the universe takes over. You wanted to become a lecturer, and now you are HOD. You wanted to study your PhD, probably to deepen the technical knowledge of the field. I'm sure I see you now becoming a leader in the area. So we want to hear from you later on. How do you manage the dichotomy of wanting to be somebody that is actually educating and transferring knowledge, and then the university says, nah, you know this subject so much, you can also become a manager. And I think that's quite an amazing story, and I think there is a little bit of a tension there. You will share with us how you're managing that.
Yes.
Phathi, you coming from the industry, but a very special area of the industry, which is the development. If I look at your title of your organization, SAICE, PDP. But before we go there, just say hi to our viewers and also give us a little bit of your journey so far. I'm very excited to have women leaders in engineering tonight. So let's hear your story.
Good evening, Sam. Good evening, everyone, and all the listeners and viewers. My journey started a long time ago. I studied civil engineering at the National University of Science and Technology in Zimbabwe, in Bulawayo. Why I chose civil engineering, it is a very interesting story for me, because when I was studying at high school, I really wanted to do engineering, also for my father's influence. However, I actually didn't know which engineering to choose, because there's civil, there's electrical, there's industrial. So I only got to understand in the first year of university the different types.
So why I then gravitated towards civil is because it spoke to me. Civil is really about helping people, the roads, the water, the sewer. It just felt close to my heart. And of course, the structure side is also part of it, but I was drawn mostly towards the civil works. So I was then very convinced that civil is where, so like my calling is. I was in the industry in Zimbabwe first in the consulting engineering space with urban design. Then I joined the water board, where I also had my feet there, worked in designing dams. From then on, I came to South Africa. I was with the Department of Roads and Transport before I went back to consulting, where I actually also got my, my passion in it when I was now doing RDP housing. So my experience is very diverse in the civil space, really assisting the community in getting the services up on the ground. So with all that experience, and then the chance to give back in terms of capacity building and SAICE professional development and projects, just had an advert looking for a program manager and mentor. So that's how I joined the company. And when Alison Lawless was retiring after more than 20 years with the organization, I applied because I've already obtained my master's in business administration, my MBA, and managed to be hired as the managing director. Very big shoes to fill, but I'm glad with 3 years on, the company is doing well, up and running, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Sam.
And I assume your biggest stakeholders in this field is the municipalities.
Yes, definitely. So actually the start of the company, it was because there was a gap of skills in the municipality. There's a numbers and needs study which was done in 2005, 2006, which highlighted the number of technicians, technologists, and engineers in the municipalities, and it was very clear that there's a skills gap. So that is how actually SAICE Professional Development and Projects was formed. It was formed by the South African Institution of Civil Engineers. I think most of you are familiar with SAICE. So we were formed by SAICE, and the need came to do capacity building, to get funding, to have expertise deployed into municipalities to cover that skills gap. It was noted that many municipal engineers were either retiring or immigrating, and the young engineers coming into the field did not have any mentoring or any guidance in what really municipal engineers are supposed to be. So with funding and the expertise on those same engineers who were retiring, SAICE PDP facilitated them going back into the municipalities to guide these young engineers. And the first program was called the Energies, which means engineers now, to ensure rollout by growing young skills initiative. This was in 2006. So the retired engineers were now mentoring the young skills, the graduates, the ones with a few years experience, to help them understand what an engineer must do in the municipal space. Over the years, we've grown. It's no longer any part of the program. We're funded by the CETAs, and our partnership with DBSA has also brought us into the wheel space, because also there was shown that some students fail to graduate because they lack the will component. So the partnership which Annie was talking about in the industry is very important, and we're coming in there. We have students from VUT, we have students from TUT, and all over, and we assist with the will component so that they can graduate.
So you are indeed part of the talent pipeline. We'll come back to that point in terms of how you actually welcome the students into the industry and make sure that they have those soft skills. I would call them soft skills, but we all know that these are not soft. These are skills that you need for you to function very well in the profession. We'll come back to that. Marilis, from a curriculum perspective, how is VUT embedding the professional body requirements and readiness into the civil engineering program broadly? I'm asking you perhaps a very difficult question, because as a lecturer, your job is to unleash the staff and make them qualify and send them into the industry. But you will appreciate that in South Africa today, we have a huge challenge out there that we've got graduates that are not actually able to enter the industry. And the argument is that they are not prepared very well. So perhaps you can give us the perspective from the lecturer point of view, how you conscientize these students as you lecture to them.
Now, first of all, I can just mention that VUT is being accredited by EXA. In other words, EXA actually accredit our program every 4 years. They check that we do everything up to standard. So our program, we must ensure that we comply with EXA. And we will tell the students that EXA is Engineering Council of South Africa, that they know that. And then besides that, our programs include practical work. We have computer programs that will try and assist students to narrow the gap between the theory and the practical. But then also what we are looking at is covering the graduate attributes. There's 12 of them that EXA requires. That is the soft skills that you were talking about. We look at problem solving, applying scientific and engineering knowledge, engineering design, investigation, for instance, use of engineering tools, teamwork, how to communicate, how to do report writing, also engineering professionalism. So all of that, we actually embed them in our lecturing. So as we lecture, we will always talk to students about that and reminding them that one day they're going to be the designers of, for instance, roads or buildings, and that they have to make sure that they apply to the XR regulations. They have to make sure that they actually look at the standards, because we have to adhere to certain codes of practice and standards. That civil engineering is not just a job, it's a profession, and they have to take it's serious, and they must be proud of their own. If we take a subject, for instance, like design, we tell them how to do it, and we build in safety factors, etc. But that is what we try to do from our side, is to give them examples, real world experience, what's happening outside. So we definitely follow the XR rules and regulations, and if the student can be competent in these 12 graduate attributes, then I think they will be more or less ready for the workplace. And they have the background knowledge that they have to be XR registered one day and to become professional engineers. That is what we try to do with it.
Yeah. Did you find most of the students understanding that it's not enough just to get a qualification? They have to then go through another pathway towards becoming a professional engineer? And did they understand what's the difference between qualified engineer from academic and then a professional engineer from the industry point of view?
Yes, we try to explain that to them. So we will always invite industry to come and talk to the students, the youngsters, and to explain to them the different pathways. We also invite SAICE to come and talk to them. And we also encourage our students to also register with SAICE. So SAICE will also give programs and workshops to students to show them how to become professional. And I think the first year students don't grasp that too much, but as they then progress and they are doing the GAs and engaging in a year XR, then they start hearing about being professionally registered. So yes, I think they at the final year they definitely understand what it means to be professionally registered.
engineering is I assume is I mean, it can only be practical. So while they are studying, at what point do you make them do practical stuff? Is it something that is done from the year one, that they get to see the lab, or they get to see? I don't know whether you have such in terms of civil engineering. I'm talking from a layman point of view.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. How do you then make them immediately up front become very much aligned with the practical nature of the profession itself?
So from there, as I would say, from the first year, they obviously do your physical and chemical and chemistry practicals. Then you will have practicals for theory of structures. In the labs, we have labs that they can come and do practicals. We have labs, material labs, where they do material testing. And that is basically, well, from year one up to year 5, they get exposed to that. We have surveying that they do physical, setting out outside when they do surveying. We have computer labs where they do drawing physically on a computer program. And so we tie the theory and the practical with basically almost all the subjects that they do. And that is then besides the will component. I think the will component ties in everything. So once they go for that 6 months of work integrated learning, then they actually can put everything into place. Then they can make the connection between the theory and the practice. So that they do at the end of their theoretical training. But within the most of the subjects are linked to practical sessions, and they have to write a practical report. So we also learn them how to do that.
There's a lot of interest, Phathi. I mean, you educated in Zimbabwe. Did you have this kind of industry linked interventions like WIL? I mean, I'm always remembering my early days in studies. We were never handheld like the way the students are being handheld these days. Just from your experience, obviously, the countries might be different.
Okay, yes, it's there. So specifically, if I talk about the National University of Science and Technology, during my days, it was a new university. So the engineering program that they introduced there was actually a 5-year Bachelor of Engineering honors degree, and 12 months of that degree, which was the 4th year, was the will, almost like the will component, where you had to spend the whole year in industry, then come back for the final year and wrap it up. Other universities, like the University of Zimbabwe, they didn't specify the exact year, but they would encourage students during their break to just have components of industry exposure where they would have to get some work. Yes, diplomas are offered at the Polytechnic in Zimbabwe, and it would be a diploma program which could be 4 years, and it would be during the breaks where the students are then encouraged to go into the industry and get the industry component. But as time went on, with other universities now getting established, I noticed the industry component is now emphasized. So either during their term mid-semester breaks or a certain portion of the semesters, they are encouraged to go into the industry, and that is actually graded and is part of your total university qualification, that component of exposure to industry and getting the relevant kind of work experience already before you qualify, so that you know where you are leading to as you wrap up your qualification.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, before I ask you the question, just to take note that there is a Tepang that is asking a question around entrepreneurship. You don't have to answer it now, but before we've ended the show, I think we need to touch on that. She's asking you to touch on the entrepreneurship opportunities for students if placement is not possible, and how can students go about finding out the opportunities like that. I think this is continuation of our previous conversation with the colleague that is responsible for entrepreneurship at the university. Perhaps you can touch on that. But I wanted also to just bring you in here because cooperative education is actually a bridge, from my understanding of your program, between what Marilise and them are doing in the faculty and then, of course, the industry. But perhaps just share with us the systems that are in place to measure the graduate absorption into the industry and the effectiveness of WHEEL so far. From the VUT perspective, how has this been helpful in assisting these students graduate with the industrial experience and hopefully also being placed in the industry? And maybe you can link up with the work that Phathi and them are doing, that of professionalization. It might be helpful there, or maybe Phathi can take it from you afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tima. Yes, the WHEEL is a critical bridge between theory and practice. And how do we do it so that it can be quality? Number one, we, as I said, we source industry partners. We don't just take anyone to train our students. When we get new opportunity from a company, we go back to the university, to the faculties. They are experts. Then they will go out if it's a new company to see if that company can train our students. From there, when they are satisfied, they approve the company, they come back to us, then we can then assist the student. But another thing is that we don't just dump the student to the company. The company interview the students. So they take the student as per their interviews and who they can take. But then the quality comes from the industry partners that we have with VUT. That is the reason why we partner with them for placement. Another thing again is that the professional bodies, they are very key, particularly in engineering. All the disciplines from engineering, they account to it, as my colleagues has already said. And then all this professional body really assist the student after they complete, and then they can be part of the professional body. And there are professional bodies that actually contact us. So when the student completed their and will, then they will be able to put the students under them so that the student can qualify as professionals. So the other thing is the companies themselves, they have the standards that they are taking, they like to take the students. So I think the university student, particularly the University of Technology, because they do theory, and then after that they can do their practicals. They are actually good in being absorbed by industry after WHEEL, sometimes during WHEEL placement. I don't know if I captured all of
Wonderful. I want to link this to now when they have graduated and they've left the university, so they have a degree, and now we are saying that even if they are employed, there is still expectation from the professional bodies that they should actually work towards professionalization. I think that is where I want to bring in to say, how long on average does it normally take for a freshly graduated somebody to work towards getting a professionalization and be given certificate by the professional body as an engineer? Because I'm told that the fact that you finish your degree doesn't make you an engineer. Am I right, Phathi, or is it?
Yes, you cannot have the title of professional or engineer depending on your country if you are not accredited, so like by a regulatory body like EXA in this space. So there are minimum requirements. For example, with the Engineering Council of South Africa, EXA, it says you need to work in the industry for a minimum of 3 years. And of those 3 years, 1 year you should be at responsibility level E. The responsibility levels, as they are defined by EXA, they go from A, B, C, D, and E. A, it just means you're a newbie in the industry, a maximum supervision, handheld, And I'm happy to say most technicians or big tech students, technologists, they don't enter the industry at A because of the will component. So they can enter at B. So they can then spend maybe a year, 6 months at responsibility level B. Then you rise C as you gain more confidence. And as the company you're working for, they gain confidence in your skills. Then you get to D, then E. When you have spent 1 year at responsibility level E, then you can write down your application and submit it for consideration. So that is in theory. The practical aspect is that you must gain competence in the 11 EXA outcomes. And it is sometimes challenging to gain that competence in the 3 years because the competence depends on the projects that you are exposed to. We know that some companies, you may just be hired maybe to just do a certain component. They needed a draftsman because you're very young. You spend 1-2 years just drafting. So that's not gaining competence in engineering. And if you get maybe into big companies, you just be given a small component of the whole project to work on. So you do not gain competence in 11 outcomes. So for some people, it then takes longer than the 3 years. So practically speaking, we can say 4 to 5 years minimum. But we've seen people with 15, 20 years experience who are still not professionally registered. I think it was mainly because it wasn't mandatory back then. But now with the identification of engineering work, which is now a regulation, it was promulgated, if you're performing engineering work, you're now compelled to get professionally registered. So we encourage young graduates as they enter the industry to be conscious of the type of work they're doing. You may enjoy drawing, you may enjoy just designing, being in the design office and just churning out those designs, but be conscious of the 11 outcomes, such that over the years, as you perform your work, you then gain the competence. And it is only at that point when you are competent in the 11 outcomes and you have done engineering activities at responsibility level E for at least 1 year, that you are then eligible for professional registration. And in the engineering space, we know you can also be a construction project manager. So that one, it also has its own requirements. I think we need minimum 4 years. It also has its levels where you need to be in the whole spectrum of the 6 stages of the project life cycle, including health and safety and risk. Then you can be eligible for professional registration. And with the new policy, you now need to have an NQF level 8 qualification. Unlike before, even someone with a diploma could register as a construction project manager, provided they have the experience, but the policy has changed. So I think, Sam, it's EXA minimum 3 years, of which practically 4 to 5 years, and SAICE PCMP also 4 to 5 years or 6 years, depending on the.
So the employers can actually have a huge impact on the rate of professionalization of the engineers by either giving them more exposure, more responsibilities, or they could have a negative impact by just keeping them on one area of those 11 outcomes, and therefore even if they want to push it, they may not actually be able to do so.
You are right. You are right. Because remember, an employer is running a business, you know.
Yes.
So there may be a need in that space of maybe just producing designs so that we can meet our targets, we can deliver on our programs and the projects on the ground, and it may hinder this new graduate to gain a holistic kind of experience. But we've seen some employers who actually have in-house graduate programs which allow the rotation into the different departments to expose the candidate into different areas in order to gain the competence in the 11 outcomes. But of course, there are some small consulting engineers or construction firms where, as a graduate, you are really put in the deep end. If it's a small organization, you're then forced to cover all the aspects of the project. So that way, you get to responsibility level E in all the outcomes faster, because that small consulting engineer is relying on you. So there's a range of companies out there where some have graduate programs, some don't, and some are just too small for you to be compartmentalized. You're given everything. And there are some which are a bit, medium companies where they cannot afford graduate programs. And the senior engineers within those companies do not have time to really mentor. So that's where now, as we can come in and we have an external mentor program, which is the same thing that we do in municipalities. Because municipalities as well, because of the skills gap, and a graduate engineer may not know where does he or she fit in. So the external mentor will guide, especially one who was a municipal engineer before, to remove that concept of just doing administrative work, accepting drawings, just ticking boxes that no, the engineer has submitted a design, they've submitted a tender, they've submitted drawings, you do the procurement process, you accept payment certificates and so forth. So our role is to just recalibrate their brain so that we say, as an engineer, as a technologist, as a technician, this is what you're doing. You have to do design review.
It looks like we need to come back and unpack that point. Marlies, as an educator, and of course representing VUT in this conversation now, how important it is to the university to have as many graduates as possible becoming professional engineers out there?
I think to answer that question, as much as possible, but we can't just give degrees just for the sake of it. Students need to they must deserve that degree. So that's why we have to keep to a certain standard. In our case, we normally enroll about 150 to 180 students in the beginning of the, for first year. And then the graduates, that will graduate twice a year, it's about between, I think, 50 to 60 each year. So in our case, it's not about the numbers, it's about the quality. We can't just, if they graduate, and just walk over the stage to get a qualification, just for the sake of numbers and chasing numbers. But
the reputation of the institution is also very important, I guess. Yes. You don't want people carrying your qualification and working projects that collapses and causes huge problems.
That's true.
Yeah. In particular, in civil engineering, we're all very much familiar with a number of buildings that tend to fall before even they get completed. And we always say, they always ask, who was the engineer? You know, they look for the engineer. So I guess it could be very scary for people wanting to make careers in the industry. And that brings me to the question of, if the standard is so high that the university is setting, what are the minimum requirements for students, potential students, to come into the profession?
The minimum requirements to study a diploma in civil engineering at UT, you need 50% for physical science, 50% for maths, and 50% for English, and then an APS score of 24. That is for the diploma, and then you have the extended program if maybe you didn't make the 50% in one of those 3 subjects. Then there's a foundational program that they call. So that is what we look at. So you have to be very good in your maths and your physical science. That must be your favorite subject, if I can call that.
Yeah.
That is our requirements. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that the demand for engineers in the country is quite high. So I assume that in the statistics of unemployed graduates, I assume that we don't find many engineers. Because I will be disappointed if we have a lot of graduate engineers sitting at home and not being absorbed in the industry. Am I right?
Yes, I'm not 100% sure about the amount that's unemployed. Currently, civil engineering may be a little bit of stagnating at the moment, but there's always room for, we need a lot of infrastructure revamping and improving infrastructure. So there's definitely work for a lot of engineers. So yeah, at this stage, there's always be work for engineers, but I don't know exactly how many unemployed at this stage.
And Dr. Mabelan was earlier on here trying, I'm sure he's traveling, so he's not able to join us, because, and am I right to say that his focus is engineering, and maybe he's the right person to ask as to what is happening with our graduates out there, and maybe also bring in the question of entrepreneurship. If I'm engineer qualified and I'm not absorbed in the industry, can I transition into entrepreneurship, and how do I go about that? Maybe answering also Tsepang Victor question there. I know that you and I have had a discussion that we must not contribute to the problem of unemployment. If they can't be absorbed in the industry, we should also encourage them to take the route of entrepreneurship.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Tima. Yes, we have a lot of students who carry qualifications, but they cannot be, employed. So there are a lot of reasons, many reasons that are actually affecting the employment of the students. We can name maybe one or two, saying that we can look at our industry currently, that they are shrinking yearly. So most of the students, they don't get absorbed by our industry partners or any industry that like to take students. However, we encourage them to do to be entrepreneurs. So the encouragement comes from, to be an entrepreneur is not that you have to study the entrepreneurship and then you become an entrepreneur. Our students, particularly in engineering, they are very much, they can think smart. Let me put it like that. They really think smart. They can use that thinking to become entrepreneurs. And the other thing is that when they do work integrated learning, they see the gap. So they need to sit back and say, because there's a gap in industry that I see, what is it that I can do to close that gap? So they can close that gap by, doing something. So we encourage them anyway They can contact our Sistonica in management sciences to get more about how they can become entrepreneurs. They can also contact our science park, is our campus in Sebokeng, that they can contact so that they can learn to know what is happening in science park. Most of our students, they don't visit science park, and there are a lot of entrepreneurs, who are doing so many things. So they need to contact those people. Another thing is that I think we educate our students from time to time when we prepare them for the real world of work, that do not just focus on doing work integrated learning so that you can just, after that, you attain your qualification. They must also actually look what is it that they can do with the company, the very same company that they are doing training in. They can do something with those companies. But I like the fact that the absorption of the student to industry is a very key thing. It's a very key to the university. Most of our students, they get work after they are work integrated learning. Some companies, they absorb them even before they can complete their work integrated learning, but because we use logbooks, then they had to know with what outcomes that we want to see the student achieving. So they will get through that, and the student will write reports and everything. They absorb the student, particularly in most of engineering disciplines. This get absorbed even before they complete the work integrated learning. Some, when they complete that, the companies, as one my colleague said, that there are graduate programs in most of the companies. So they put the student in the graduate program, and then after that, they can then contract the student for a year or two, and they can take the student for permanent. So the only challenge that we have is that our companies are shrinking yearly, and most of the students cannot get opportunities. As those companies that are taking the student, they also look at the students performing well, and then they will take them, because now they are restricted because of their shrinking.
Well, I have a beautiful comment here from Mr. Mabusa. I don't know if it's Mr. or Miss Mabusa, who says that there is a need for mentorship at a very young level. And then he or she goes further to say that I was mentored by Phathi and studied at VUT. I realized the importance of current mentorship because I've been a good student, but sometimes you can miss important things as you progress in your career. I think this is happening to so many people. There is always something that you miss if you don't have a mentor. But perhaps this also suggests that I think the name is Mrs. Mabusa. Maybe you remember him. He's a graduate of VUT, and you mentored him, and I think it's suggesting that this needs to happen very early in a student's journey because of the point he raised. Now, my question to you and Marlies is that, is there a way that we could have the work that PDP is doing, or any other organization out there, being brought earlier in the journey of the students, or is it will that be loading them with too much work while they are still focusing on the academic side? But I think the point is making here is valid. The earlier the better. Marlies?
Yes. Okay.
I think from our side, that's why we expose the students very early to SAICE, that they go and register as a student member, because then they can be part of the mentorship programs, and then they can attend all these workshops that will help them to grow as well. I think it is difficult when you're not actually with work experience, but the sooner you would start, the better. So I think Phathi can come in at what they do, perhaps with mentorship workshops, and at what age or stage do they think it's best fit for students to start attending those workshops. From our side, we encourage them on the final year to actually become SAICE student members, and then they can start attending those workshops, because I then think they have enough experience and they will almost go to the workplace, and then that will be a suitable time for them to join and get exposure on that and the mentorship as well.
I think
I always wonder whether there is ever a right time to bring any intervention, because the students grow at different levels, and the background where they come from also determine. I mean, if the students come from very good high schools where personal skills is recommended, they may not have the problems that students that come from very backward environment in terms of these things will have. And that's why it almost looks like, at what time do you call a coach into your life? You know?
Can I add, Brasem? I think I should add in the mentorship part of the student, because when the student register and they are actually successful in VUT, there is a mentorship workshop that we are attending. You remember, I think, in our previous show that we had Mr. Mutusi Samisami, who is responsible for the mentorship in the university. So they will hire the mentors, but then, yes, we understand that it's not enough to use our university mentors. We need to get people from outside who are experts so that they can be able to mentor our students. They do that from first year level, but it must actually, I agree that it must be a continuous process where we have to get people who are professional to mentor our students in the beginning. But I think they do a lot of activities with regards to mentor the students from the first year level. Thank you.
Wonderful. But it does look like the case for your establishment as an organization is still there, because these are, and Marilis can confirm this, these are over and above the amount of work the students have to do. But it's almost like you can't do without mentorship, and yet you don't have time for it. And sometimes when we then bring a mentor in, sometimes we use mentors to focus too much on technical problems or challenges. But the problem, it might not even be technical, it might be what you are trying to address. Perhaps please come in, give us a bit more about the value proposition of your establishment, and how we can actually address the point that Mabusa here, Sibusiso, is addressing.
Okay. The importance of mentoring, having a mentor cannot be overemphasized. First, as a student, as you get into the industry, you need that someone who just try to explain what this civil engineering is all about, because what you learn at university is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's actually quite broad. So, but in the industry, you may get then cornered into sub-disciplines. Like civil engineering, there's structures, there's roads and stormwater, there's water and sanitation, there's actually some portion of environmental and geotech. So it is very broad. The sub-disciplines are a lot. So the mentor can be in two, in terms of just career guidance, unpacking what the industry has to offer, and trying to guide you to what you enjoy, what you like, because that's your lifetime. And then our organization, our mentors, they are the technical expertise, where they really unpack the EXA outcomes, the EXA 11 outcomes, and ask relevant questions to say, did you actually achieve these outcomes? And it will then be up to you to then look into yourself and say yes or no. And then the mentor will then guide you and actually speak to your supervisor and say, this graduate has achieved outcome 1 and 2, but is missing 4 and 5 and a bit of 6. So can you then allocate the person a relevant project to then gain the competence in the outcomes? Or our mentors will then say, you know what, you are not yet at responsibility level E. You have been working for 5 years, 6 years, but from engaging with you, from talking to you, you are not yet at responsibility level E. Then the engagement with the organization will then be that, can you allocate work to this person and give her or him the responsibility so that they can achieve that competence at responsibility level E. So our mentors combine a bit of coaching in terms of career guidance, a bit of, understanding that, yes, Sam, you're very right. They do not make time for mentoring because we really sometimes struggle with just engaging that 4 hours in a month or 3 hours in a month with the different graduates, because they're saying, I'm very busy. Then their registration journey takes long. But I really liked Busiso Mabuza. I remember him very well. He got his professional registration last year. It was also a struggle getting him. Instead of the 3-year program, he had to extend it because he had challenges at work. Remember, this is your work. That's what you're employed to do. So the pressure of delivering on your work on his work was a lot. So he couldn't make time for mentoring, but it came to that realization when I was really persistent and wouldn't let him drop out. So with time, he then, got to understand, say, no, he has done the work. He wrote his reports, submitted, and was professionally registered. And as I said, part of that career journey, he is then moved from one position to another. As he grows now, when you have that professional registration, if you see many of the engineering jobs, that is now a requirement. So it allowed him to move from one job where he was not exactly happy to another one where he seems to be thriving. So we're very happy as SAICE PDP when we hear such professional journeys. So that's the idea of mentoring. But as Marilise was saying, this mentoring that PDP we do, it needs funding. Those mentors need to be paid for their time. But also, as SAICE, the voluntary organization, we actually have what is called SAICE Connect, where mentors register their mentees. So that is the more career kind of guidance. It's actually free for all SAICE members. So you get to ask a senior engineer just some pertinent questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? And we've also had good results from there. Where one was a graduate, unemployed, he registered for the SAICE Connect. I paired him with a mentor and got that career guidance, how to apply, and got a position. So we have some good stories, and it's good that they encourage students to be members of SAICE. And remember, being in a voluntary organization is part of the learned society. And it's an affiliation, and I think in university will also have to just conscientize the students that being part of such organizations, when you have graduated and are employed, you need to pay the affiliation fees and so forth, because that culture of paying for membership, I think we need to instill in it as well, because there are lots of benefits over and above mentorship.
It's really an investment in their future. I mean, look at what you just shared with us now. after as this is called his professionalization, then the growth in a career gets accelerated. And of course, he is acknowledging you as a forever grateful Phathi. You're the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think, Marlies, I'm sure this happens to many other professional bodies. I mean, the university is quite comprehensive. There are many faculties, there are many areas, and in principle, anybody that belongs to any profession must belong to the professional body of that profession, of course. Otherwise, you become an island, and the growth takes too long. And I think once you are out in the industry, you can be lost in the woods because now you get preoccupied with other things, and then you leave your development to the back burner. And you wake up very late to realize that actually you are growing so slow because you stopped investing in your development. You thought it ended up with a qualification. And I think this for me, this is a hobby horse of mine. I really believe that lifelong continuous development culture and mindset is part of our contribution to these students while they are still young. We need to inculcate that in, because I have seen people coming into the industry. After that, nobody cares. You got a job, you qualified, you are on your own, and nobody's going to remind you that you must look after your development. And we lose a lot of greatness in that way. And by belonging to a professional body, then they will remind you. There's a master class, there's get together, there's newsletters. So yeah, I really, for me, this triangle of co-op industry, and it's not even a triangle because PDP is not SAICE, is addressing something that they found. So it's almost like a network of stakeholders that actually together create something that the country will need. And I guess this speaks to your mandates as any entrepreneurship, employment, stakeholder reaching out, inviting the professional bodies to come and talk to the students. And I'm grateful for my release time to be here tonight, because it must be very tough to be a HOD, a lecturer, and also try to address the issues that the students are facing in the industry. I mean, work-life balance, that's the next topic, and then I'll open up for our other two guests to reflect on our discussion. Work-life balance for you as a professional at the academy, and then of course, Phathi, work-life balance for you as an engineer in the industry. You have other things in life. How is that? How can we help deal with that?
Yeah, I think that is one of the soft skills that you have to learn over the years, because you can be married, have children, and you also have to focus then on your career. So it has to do with planning, because I had to balance being the course coordinator, lecturing before this HOD, then doing my research, my DEng, and I also professionally registered last year. So that was a lot of hard work. Thank you, a lot of hours after hours. But that is only a short span of time that you set aside some time. So if you have a goal, then you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to spend, say, 3 years to reach that goal. Then you have to put in some extra time. But once you've reached it, then you can ease down a bit. So for me, it's all about planning. I plan ahead for my whole week. What do I have to do, when and where? Make time for myself, make time for my family, and then also for my own personal development as well. So, and we try to also teach that to the students, to do time management. You can't just leave everything for the last minute, and students tend to do that. So I always tell them, when we give you an assignment, please start immediately. And that's the same with me. As if the moment I get tasks to do, I will prioritize my tasks, and I will start with the most important one first. Although the deadline might be 2 weeks in advance, I start immediately with it because I know the importance. But yes, it is tough to do a work-life balance, and at this stage, it was a step up for me to be the acting HOD, but I have a lot of support from my fellow colleagues as well. And that's important. You have to make use of the people that surrounds you, and yeah. So for me,
And then we are very proud of you, Marilis. I mean, you're about to get your PhD over and above the amount of responsibilities that you have. I mean, that sends a right message out there to students that it's never going to end when you finish your degree. It's a lifelong learning. And I mean, to have that drive to continue learning so that also you give your students fresh knowledge. Being an academic, it's lifelong learning, but being a professional in general. So I mean, I look forward to welcome you as a Dr. Bia next time here. Or they call you a professor, I'm not sure. I mean, the titles you use there. Right. Phathi, I mean, this is one of those soft skills, the work-life balance. All of us are grappling with it. I mean, you hear people say, I don't have time. And I always, as a coach, I always tell people, please don't say that ever again. Because really you do have time. It's a question of how you manage it and then how you prioritize things. And that skill is very important because indeed people do get lost and to a point that their well-being and their health get affected. But how do you go about it at PTP and of course CCNE as well? We spoke about this before. People think co-op is as Asachte Matras is tough. They have to be in the university and then they have to be out in the industry. That's why Mr. Mavelan and them, we struggle to get them here because they are out there trying to support students. But then we go back to my question from your perspective. How do you help engineers cope with work-life balance?
Okay, you know, for me, I encourage expertise first and foremost. If you know what you're supposed to do, then you get the most efficient way of doing it. That way, you can then do your work within the allocated hours and then have time for yourself, for your family, but also get an interest, something else outside of work to interest yourself so that, you know, when during your downtime, you can do it. It could be extra activities at church, organizations, and so forth, just giving back. But what I found also, which is very helpful, is having a good team. So from that expertise, if you know what you're doing, then you empower your team to know what they're doing. So as you delegate, you know that your team will get it right. It gives you that comfort. And it calms down the anxiety of, will I meet that deadline? Because in industry, it's really about meeting the deadlines. The clients want the report at a certain time, and invoices must be submitted at a certain time for you to pay people and so forth. So if you empower the team to know this from the word go, so we are all together. You work, you know, you work very nicely, it works smoothly with the good team. And then once you're that expert, gain the relevant skills for time management. Know your priorities. Don't leave things to the end. Because, you know, we're all students, even as adult education during my MBA. You know, as a student, you leave things to the last minute. It's not good in the workplace. Because, you know, you leave it to the last minute, there's load shedding, there's power failure, there's, you know, there's many things in life that will distract you. And it's not it's not like you get marks, but you have to submit your reports in time to just build a good reputation with the clients and for them to process their payments in time so that you get your salary in time. You know, it's all linked. So if you have an empowered team, that's what I've learned. An empowered team, get them to understand your strategies, the vision, and it's also about them buying into your vision. You know, as at PDP, we are there to assist people get professional registered. So if we really buy into that vision, I've seen the team going over and above, organizing workshops, engaging more to the candidates. And we've seen it growing the company with the number of registrations that are successful, but also knowing that at 4:30 we knock off, we go home. You know, it's only like when it's really, really, you know, it happens when there's a deadline, you have to meet, you work extra. but it should not be frequent that all the time you're working extra hours. So for me, it's the expertise, managing your time and just, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, as I move on to our guest observers, I want you to think about this. It's going to be part of your checking out. What do we owe to the industry of engineers as a society? Just think about it, because we tend to take it for granted. Many of us, we want things to be functioning. But what do we as a society owe to engineering profession? Think about that, and I want you to check out that. You use this in as well. What do we owe to coordinators of will, like yourselves, as a society and as a student community? And I have a comment that came through my WhatsApp here. It's addressed to Phathi. It comes from Gwena Mapudu, and he says, in the context of professional registration with Engineering Council of South Africa, many municipal engineers and engineering technologists remain constrained by limited exposure to core design work and the full spectrum of the 11 competency outcomes. This is further complicated by institutional structures where they often report to non-registered supervisors who are not positioned to provide appropriate technical mentorship or sign-off. From a regulatory and professional standpoint, what practical and scalable model will you recommend to ensure that these practitioners can still meet registration requirements, particularly regarding mentorship, competency development, and the legitimacy of signatories within such constrained environments? I don't know whether you want to think about it or you want to go for it, but it does look like you and Gwena, you might have to have a follow-up on this, because it looks like there's a practical question that your clients, being municipalities, may need to hear about it. But over to you, if you
Let me just get, as you say, it's a broad question. I'll only give just an overview. I think that's the reason why PDP exists. Many people believe that municipal engineers are not exposed to the whole spectrum of the engineering life cycle, the 11 outcomes. We tend to forget that municipalities are the custodians of all the projects. The government has said there will be 10, how much? The 10 trillion, a huge amount of money, 1.7 trillion committed over the next 3 years. These will be in municipalities, in government departments, and so forth. So the municipal engineer, as they investigate that problem, first from either complaints from the community or complaints from the general public, and draft the scope before they engage a consultant, already they've performed engineering. That's already outcome one. Already in your head, you know what kind of solution you want. So that's why they don't say design, they say develop the solution. We are challenging you to say, in developing that solution, use your engineering principles. And as they engage with the consultants, they receive those designs. We are saying, municipal engineer, review the design, engage with the consultant at that engineering level, have the conversation. And if you really do it properly, understanding your engineering, you cover that competence. So our mentoring, it imparts this knowledge to a municipal engineer who did not know that actually this is what I was supposed to do. So with that guidance from mentoring from the PDP program, we have assisted a lot of municipal engineers go through the whole process and get professionally registered. And it brings up to about outcome 8, which is ethics. Many of our municipal engineers are challenged on that aspect. And from our webinars on ethics and unpacking ethical conduct, our municipal engineers know where they stand. They may face challenges, but they know exactly what to do in those challenges. And outcome 9 and 10 is also about engineering sound judgment, making responsible decisions using engineering principles. So we are saying As a municipal engineer, you got that job because of your engineering qualification. Use it. You can work with consultants, you can work with contractors, use it. I understand that you may not just start as a graduate by reviewing a design. That is actually not practical. So we have CIDP regulations which actually allow municipal engineers to be seconded to the consultants performing those roles of detailed design, so that as part of your career growth, you know how to investigate, you know how to design, and you know how to implement hands-on first before you then embrace that role as a municipal engineer. So we provide that guidance, and we can engage with different municipalities as we unpack this, and have graduate programs or mentorship programs that will really see these our municipal engineers performing well. And the impact of a registered professional municipal engineer is safe buildings, roads that are done properly, not roads that are surfaced today or upgraded today, and 2 rainy seasons down the line, the potholes are, so that is our vision as PP, to have that impact. So I'm glad Mr. asked that question.
Thank you so much. I hope Kwena has been answered, but Kwena, yes, you're welcome to drop us a further contact details, and so we can link you up with either the university or the PDP here. Let me transition to our guest observers. Let me start with you, Bali. Wow, what a mouthful. What have you had so far, and what do you take away from this? And what other outstanding things do you feel we haven't covered or we might have to cover before we leave?
Thank you so much, Mr. Tima, for the opportunity. And I must say that thank you so much to the experts in the house. I've learned a lot. So one of the things that I picked up about engineering is, from my point of view, is that it's not widely supported. That's one of the things that as a society, we owe the engineering community a stronger constitutional background, a backbone, and an active professional support. And this also will drive the technical leadership in government, where we just allow the senior government levels the critical seat at the decision-making table, that they can be able to just transform the industry, because the ability for us to recognize the engineers, not just for the work they do, but also to just understand that they don't just work with concrete and steel, but it's about human dignity. That if we lose that aspect of human dignity, a lot of lives can be lost, a lot of damage can be done. So we need to create a structure where we don't just celebrate them for the work they do, that yes, you have created a bridge, oh, that's nice. You have created a stormwater, that is nice. But it's also understanding that there has to be a heart that goes to that, to ensure that this doesn't just make the landscape beautiful, but it also respects the human dignity, making sure that people don't fall into this places that bridges are not collapsing. So I believe that one of the things that we really owe them is the ability to recognize, richly recognize their work, not for steel and concrete, but also for the dignity they bring to human beings. And the one area that I believe that we need to actually work more on is just exposing the students to more mentorship, yes, but also let us introduce time management courses. Let's also introduce leadership courses. I think Phathi spoke about that when you are an expert in your area, you allow others, or you grow so much that you are able to delegate. But you cannot delegate if you are not an expert in your area, because when you become an expert, you mentor so that others grow. So we need to understand that the capacity of our expertise needs to grow out. It needs to go out to people. It doesn't help us being expert in a subject and then hold it to ourselves. So let's also learn that capacity to be expert, but also become the branch where other people stem from. Those are my takes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that reflection. Valuable indeed. We're making notes. I hope we can follow through some of those reflections that you are sharing with us. I was just responding to one of my proteges from previous years, who's just dropped a note here. So it's good to have many people following up. Puleng, anything to add to what Mbali has reflected with us based on what you have been listening to?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Tima, and thank you to the expert panelists. I think this was by far the most interesting and engaging, and, a very, interim in terms of intimate rather, discussion around the profession. And I've certainly learned a lot about what goes into the engineering phase in terms of what is happening from when one graduates, because I personally, I've always felt that engineering is, it's a community that is in the corner there, and it's sort of like it's not integrated with the community. They want to be on their own, and probably they're not like the rest of the people. I like what Mbali, my colleague, was saying, to say there needs to be humanness in this technical, intense industry and profession, because really, I think we lose that along the way, because I guess because of what the industry demands in terms of the profession itself. And I understand that. And I would also, support the issue of the soft skills. I'm not sure if it was Mr. Sima who said there needs to be that soft skill. I don't know if it's Phathi. The soft skills are very important, because, growing up, you hear people saying, and I know I'm guilty of that, to say, people from either, the industry of engineering or science or whatever, they don't know people skills. They don't know how to interact with people. They go out there in the world, in the corporate, and they don't know what to do with themselves, and they feel so isolated. So I think that's something that in the curriculum or in all these support of bridging the gap of graduates to go to corporate, that is something that can be given and given to them, so that they are supported, so that when they go out there in the world, they are able to also be human beings at the end of the day. And I think that's very important. And I also, you know, interested and like the fact that there's so much support between all the institutions, like your SAICE institution and the institution, the university, and the work integrated learning itself, in terms of really taking them through the process from when they've not graduated, those practical exposures that you expose them to the industry, so that by the time they are, they graduate, already that practical and industry exposure is relevant and is relatable to them, so that they know what to expect there. So it's not, something that is scary, or it's not trauma to say, yo, what is this? Because it's different to what they've learned, while completing the industry, the qualification. So I think that support for me stands out, because in most instances, or in most, professions, that gets to be left out for individuals to fend for themselves. After they've graduated, they are in the maze, and they can handle what is there, what is expected by, the industry that they required the qualification. So for this particular one, the civil engineer, I like the integration and the working together and the partnerships that are created, and the collaboration of all the institutions. Really, I think it does really help the industry as well, and people who are interested in engaging, or maybe studying this qualification of civil engineering. And I think that one for me stands out in what I've been sharing throughout the evening. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful. You summed it Oh, well, thank you so much. Mbali and the bullying, obviously, people want to know. I know you were not the key players, but Mbali, what do you do? What is so special about you?
That question. I smile and wave, people. I smile and wave. I am a leadership coach and I help people develop their leadership skills, which is something that we are still lacking in the continent of Africa. So I assist people with developing their leadership skills. That's what I do. Thank you.
And where do they connect with you? And if they want to explore more of that, what you do?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn. Please search for Mbali Mgosi. You will see it's a lady with the red hair. Very easy to spot.
Wow, that's cool. So schooling, what do you do?
Yes, thank you so much. Maybe continuing from what Mbali said, maybe I'm the lady with the blonde hair, so it's really fun. So I'm an executive operational leader by profession. I've always been in strategic operations from the public transport sector. My latest position was heading the BRT, the bus rapid transit around the city of Ekurhuleni. So it always been with buses, public transport, and all of that. But currently, I'm busy with business development entrepreneurship. So that is the space. Whilst I'm busy with the personal development as well during this year. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
And you are on LinkedIn as well?
Yes, I am on LinkedIn today, Sidina. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Can you wrap up for us, or maybe let me leave you for number last because you are my co-host. Let me ask Phathi to wrap up and also tell the viewers how did they get hold of PDP, and then of course followed by Marlies, and also I guess the university is very easy. They must just find you somewhere, but you can tell people how to get hold of you and where the faculty is of the department. Phathi?
Okay. Sam, I would like to say thank you for having me on this platform. It's also part of growth. It was my first time. You count the nerves, but I just believe it's just opening new frontiers in part of the leadership journey. Thank you very much to the whole panel. SAICE PDP, please reach out to us on our website. It's www.saicepdp.org. And then we also are on LinkedIn. We do have a LinkedIn page, SAICE Professional Development and Projects. We also have a Facebook page. And, on our pages, we have our courses. There are free courses for municipal engineers, technical courses with 2 CPD points. So, municipal engineers out there, this is an opportunity for you. Get onto our website and get empowered. And I know it's a challenge. The courses are very expensive. A 2-day course can be up to 8,000 Rand. But with the partnership with Municipal Infrastructure Support Agent, MISA, we have this opportunity. Municipal engineers get onto our website, register for the courses before they fill up. So thank you very much again, Sam.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people will want to get that mentorship, even those who are already professionals out there. Now, at least everybody knows where VUT is, but once they're on campus, I don't think they know where to find. And then, of course, the question, what do we owe the engineers as a society? I know, Phathi, you forgot to mention that, but you want to put in. But let's answer that first.
What do the community owe us as engineers? I don't know if they owe us anything. I always tell my students, we actually, as civil engineers, are there to serve the community. So I don't think they owe us anything. But sometimes they can just listen to us. We tell them don't litter in the streets because that will block the stormwater drains and then there will be potholes in the roads, something like that. But I think they mustn't keep us distant. They must come and invite us that we can talk to them and we can share our knowledge with them. And build a bridge between us and the community. We are open for community members to come and talk to us, and we can always go and share our knowledge with them. So I think what they can owe us is maybe an opportunity to share our knowledge with them. That's what I would say.
Beautiful.
Sorry, Sam, I can
Do
come
the
in.
students know where to find the faculty? Yes, but
I think for me, from the industry side, I think it's the respect. Because I think if you respect the expertise of engineers, it will go a long way. And in the endeavor of entrepreneurship, in the endeavor of just getting the jobs, getting the projects run, if the community can respect the role of engineers, then you won't have these collapsing buildings, because sometimes the engineer would have said, but they don't listen. So I know respect goes both ways, but if the community can respect the expertise of engineers, it will go a long way to cover ethics, to cover expertise, it will protect the integrity of the profession as well. Yes, I wanted to just add that.
very important. Thank you so much, Phathi, for there's any your closing remarks and what we owe all these faculty coordinators, will coordinators, people run around trying to find spaces for students to come and do training, and yeah, and your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Blessing. What I want to raise is my take from this conversation. I'm not going to focus on engineering only because I'm representing all the faculties from Bali University of Technology. First of all, I want to thank the experts that are here with us tonight. I would like to say when we invite you to come and coach our student or do whatever, maybe we will be seeking assistance from you. Please be available for us. But my take is that there's a lot to do. Yes, there's a lot to do from this conversation from all of us, not only from the university side. From all of us, there's a lot to do. We also have to we do actually owe the students and our community, being our student as well, the community that we are living in. We've got a lot of people who are students that we owe them. We also need to recognize their challenges when they face the transition from work integrated learning and full time. They have many challenges. There are expectations from industry, and then there's student perceptions as well. So then we need to manage the perceptions and the expectations. And at the same time, we need to respect our student. We often see that when the student is employed after graduating, the company will say you have to do one, two, three. They will list them, not mentoring or coaching the student well to learn that. So I want to thank our listeners as well. This activity for us, it's the last month, the last Wednesday of the month. We should actually listen to this because the partnership that we want to do or the collaboration that we want with the faculties is very key for all the stakeholders that are involved, particularly in work integrated learning. It is so important that we collaborate with the universities. And the collaboration again, or the partnership that we have with will actually, it's so important that they tend to bring our students together in this platform whereby our students can learn from the experts what is it that is expected from them. I want to thank the two colleagues very much that were actually our key people in this platform to say that thank you very much indeed. You did it perfect. I think most of our students are listening. And from co-op side, we know that some of the students, we talk about the students, we know some of them can be a bit ignorant. So the cooperative education is in the N block, first floor of the N block. If they want assistance, they may come. They may also visit our VUT website and they go to cooperative education link and they will get us in the Facebook, in the LinkedIn, in the they can our partner, our speakers for tonight. They can also share the slides in our slide share platform so that we can assist whatever they want to share with us. That they want the student to know, they can share it with us so that we may be able to assist the student. We owe the community a lot. I always say there is no me without industry partners, without the student. We, as a university, we cannot say we exist without those people. Our will coordinators, let me talk about the industrializing practitioners and will coordinators because they're different between the industry partner, the industrializing practitioners and will coordinators. Our will coordinators, most of them, they have passion for what they are doing. They are loaded with but they give themselves time to actually supervise the student or go to industry partners. We also have industry who are listening here where we have mentors of our students. We don't place the student and say, you see, we make sure that the students when they get to industry, they have mentors. We will take them through, as Phathi was saying, that it is very important. And then we can actually do that. This is my closing verse, and without any wasting time, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do from everyone. Thank you very much.
Indeed, I know what goes on behind the scenes. It's immense. What the team is doing is really wonderful, and we can pull hands together and really address what our country needs. And I also have a special message for you, Sister Edith, the lady that was that asked that very long, challenging question to Phathi, and Phathi answered it so eloquently. Her name is Kwenama Pudu. She's the head professional development of engineers, City of Johannesburg. Maybe you all know her. She has given me her contact details. She's asking that the rep from VUT to be in touch with her because IMESA NP branch. What is NP? I'm not sure what that is, but it's IMESA NP branch. That's a dedicated award for their top municipal engineering student. So I'll give you the contact details. She gave me her email address and a mobile number. Please follow up with her. I think she has contributed immensely to this discussion. I'm sure you VUT and PDP can take the matters forward and address and help where we can. Thank you very much, Sisi Kwena. We appreciate your contribution, and the university and the PDP people will be in touch with you. I also have a closing remark here from Sbusi Sumabuza. We owe society maintaining ethical standards and skills to contribute to knowledge. This is essential in a changing world, as it allows us to find the new, better, and safer solutions. Additionally, the enforcement of EXA policies and professional standards in the public sector is crucial to ensure growth for our upcoming engineers. Wow, what a beautiful closing remarks indeed. Mbali had to go because she's rushing to other commitments. And thank you, Cecilia, for making yourself available. We really appreciate being our ears and the eyes. And thanks for the wonderful reflection that you and Mbali have shared with us. To my two guests, Marlies and Phathi, thank you so much. From the first time when we decided that you are our guest, we've been working very well together to get ready for today. And I think without patting ourselves in the back, I'm sure we have done very well. As you can see, the feedback from our viewers has been wonderful. This is the whole idea. If there's anything, please give our regards to the team at Cooperative Education and all the wheel coordinators from all the faculties at the university and the runners, that Mavelane and Simon, who always go out to all various sectors looking for the places for our students to can come and experience what they've learned in the university. With this, we are definitely contributing to a bigger solution for the country. Next time we call you, please respond this way, because only this way can we make a difference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, viewers. This has been wonderful. This is COMETSA Television Network. This show takes place on the last Wednesday of every month, except in December and January. And we want you to join us next month when we continue with this show. This is the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. The show is based on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. That's the idea. My name is Sam Zima. I'm with COMETSA, and I look forward to welcome you. Stay in the studio, colleagues, as we disconnect from our bus.